What's up, guys? This is Gina Ifoe, the one and only African superstar, bringing you guys a change in the narrative. Now, this subject is going to be a little different than my typical subject matter, but it does still tie in and it does still relate to the overall pro-Black and Pan-African mantra. Today, I want to talk about, I found Black British boys extremely attractive until I moved to England. So some of you guys are probably like, whoa, this subject is like, whoa, because a lot of people love to pry and inquire into my romantic life. People want to know what's going on. A few of you guys, a handful of you guys know what's going on in my romantic life. If you know, you know. And I actually don't need any input from my audience on that subject matter. I'm more than capable of selecting someone suitable for me. But all I can tell you guys on that note is just stay tuned to the channel. But getting back to this original subject, I think it's quite natural that people, when it comes to foreigners and whatnot, they romanticize, people from other countries. They find it exotic. They find it, different. And somehow, we really want to believe, okay, these people are a different caliber than who is here in my environment, especially people that don't necessarily mesh and integrate with the people where they're currently living. They tend to kind of gravitate to outsiders or different kind of people to find a place of belonging. Americans romanticize British people. They love their accent. I've seen it actually happen many times where, Americans are handling a certain person in a certain way, and then they hear the accent, and it kind of changes the whole interaction. The same thing happens on this side of the pond. People are enamored with American accents and, so on and so forth. I wouldn't necessarily say that I was enamored with them, but I did have a perception of these Black British boys just being so sexy and sophisticated and really clever and well-dressed and, so on and so forth, obviously. A lot of the Black British men that you see, or actors, or those that get international attention, that is how they are portrayed. And so that will be, obviously the stereotype. The issue that I found, actually, Black British boys are aesthetically very attractive. They dress well, they tend to groom themselves, they tend to be a lot more concerned than, I'd say, American people or American men. American men, some of them are very casual. Some of them don't spend a lot of investment in their looks. A lot of times when you see Black American men that are like to the nines and everything together, unfortunately they will be homosexuals. Homosexuals have that connotation of being very much into their grooming and their appearance and things like that. There are obviously Black men that look after themselves and stuff like that, but it seems to be the standard here more so. British people as a whole are not really casual. You know what I mean? The men here like dressing up. It's actually rare unless that person is like a university student or something. Even when they wear sweatsuits, everything's fitted, everything is, they're into the presentation of their looks here. But the conflict that I've had, and the thing that has kind of put me off from Black British men here is their mentality. Dynas kind of talks about this on his channel sometimes, and he identifies these people as Afropeans. Unfortunately, a lot of the Black British males here, they are, first, second, third generation migrant people. So you have people from the islands, you have a lot of African people, but they have adopted the British mindset. And the thing that's contrary to me, which is so ironic, is how we have forgotten the relationship of our African nations with Europe. You know what I mean? Britain, for instance, had its footprint over most places in the world. They were colonizing people. They were complicit in the slave trade, so it's interesting how a Black person can migrate here and then begin wanting to emulate this European accent and lifestyle and all that without being mindful of the history of our interaction together. The popular mentality here for Black people as a whole is one of tolerance. And that is what has made it very difficult for me to connect with any Black British person that, socialized here. Obviously, I have a very radical and a very bold pro-Black approach and mentality toward things. I'm very much, focused on enterprising in the motherland. I am not interested in being content in this environment and, making my life and making my home. A lot of the Black people that I've encountered here, very sadly, have that mentality. They're happy for their small piece of the pie. They believe that they need to be a part of diversity to be successful. They think that it has added benefits. And even though they know that the racism is present, they justify it. When I talk pro-Black matters to Black British men, they seem very put off by it. Especially with the fact that I'm coming from America, because they have a certain connotation of what American girls should be like and what American people like. And obviously I'm the converse of that. So, they will be attracted to me naturally because of the accent or whatever, my looks or whatever. But when they get a dose of that mentality, it's just too much for them. It's too much for them. They want an entertainment value kind of Black girl from America. They want somebody that can talk to about Jay-Z and Beyonce and, go to the clubs and, smoke weed with and, talk tattoos and, things that they associate with American culture. That is who they're expecting when they're dealing with me. They never preface the fact that, okay, this girl is now living in England. It's possible she wanted to leave America because she didn't want to be there. She didn't want to be there anymore. She didn't enjoy the environment. She doesn't want to associate with it. And that is why she has moved to another country. I am definitely a pioneer in this respect. Definitely. There are very, very few people. Actually, I haven't even connected with another American that has moved based on the premise that I have since being here in the UK. And I've been here now a little over 2 years. I am definitely the first person having this conversation with many people. And, obviously we see them and they're very attractive, which is even more frustrating because you see that, they're not being utilized properly for the growth and edification of our communities. They're being used as a tool. Black men in the West are being used as a tool of destruction against their own communities. They are being indoctrinated with this mentality that their women are inferior, that they need to participate in diversity and, all these type of things. And it's greatly having an impact on our community. I wanted to share this because I had a different perception of them. Obviously, I'd been coming to Europe for some time and I knew a little bit about the European lifestyle. And I know that people here like to be abreast of world issues and, they value education. I think a lot of times that whole ghetto gangster element that is transposed onto Black people in America, that's not really the perception here. A lot of Blacks want to become professionals, go to school and so on and so forth. They don't really want to engage with that world. They might utilize it for entertainment purposes, but I think a lot more young Black American people are actually ascertaining to live that ghetto, low class mentality. Even people that are middle class or going to good schools or coming from family environments, they begin to emulate that way because they think, okay, this is the moniker of success, because that is what is perpetuated in the media for American people is, okay, if you're Black, to be successful, these are the images that you must subscribe to. We see way more Black rappers, athletes, and entertainers in the public eye in America than we do professionals, than we see sophisticated role models or anything like that. So it's natural that the young people will want to emulate what they see. Even though some of those people are born of the struggle and born of difficult situations, and that is why they are like that. Anyway, that's a little tangent, but yeah, I found them to be much more attractive before I got here. when I started having that same conversation over and over again, I realized, okay, this is the popular mentality here in the UK. And it did help me further solidify that this is my launch pad. It's quite natural to want to find your comfort zone. I can't lie to you guys and say I didn't originally maybe think, okay, well, maybe, I'll settle in the UK. But unfortunately, I'm not really able to root a lot with these people here because they have a very, very tolerant, stagnant mindset, a lot of them. Now, there are definitely members of this channel. There are definitely pockets of black people that are pro-black, that have kind of moved to that Pan-African mindset. But overall, the West indoctrination is in full effect, even here in Europe, which is why I tell you guys the grass is not greener. we like to sit there and categorize things and say, oh, well, England's better than America. America's better than Germany. I had met some people in Paris and they were just die hard about coming to the UK, that going to the UK is better than France. And, I'm just telling people, like, listen, guys, it's all the same. It's like what they call shapeshifters. You know what I mean? Like, it looks, this element is good. In one way, the lifestyle here in Europe is a lot more calm. It's a lot less overt racism. It's a much more decent place to live, I'd say, than America in my perception. But we have small living quarters. We hardly get sunny days. And, the black people are intolerant. The black people aren't even creating a movement here because they feel like, it's good as is, business as usual. In America, you have options to live, cheaper living, bigger living spaces, but you're ducking and dodging the police and bullets every day. You're dealing with racism on everyday frequency. You're eating chemically modified foods. It's horrible. Actually, I got a text message yesterday from my very first boyfriend, from Fort Hayes. Any members of this channel that go back to my high school days, if you know, you know. Apparently he'd been having sight issues for the past few months, and he went to go see the optometrist about his issues, and the optometrist identified that he had a massive brain tumor that was pressing on his optic nerve and affecting his vision. And so now he has to have brain surgery. This is someone who's 38 years old. Okay, this is a consequence of being in an environment. You can't tell me that a healthy young person, how many 38-year-old people have you heard of having brain surgery? Time and chance happens to anybody to a certain degree, but there are certain systematic processes that are happening in these environments that we're living in that heightens our probability of being affected. And that's the thing. And so whereas in America, they are blatantly disrespectful and hostile and violent towards black people. And that is having some level of impact to them as far as, people looking and putting their eyes on the motherland, looking for refuge from this dangerous environment. Here in the UK, they subdue them. And actually, because Britain was the colonizer in, for instance, many African nations, you have the same dynamic happening in Africa in terms of these African people being socialized to think, they want to leave all the prospects in Africa to come live in this small, overcrowded Europe. Or they want to leave the safety and peace of their homelands and go to a dangerous, racist America. It doesn't really make sense when you categorize it like that, but obviously that is what their education is doing. That's what their religion is doing. It's teaching them to be tolerant, teaching them to integrate and love your brother and kiss your, turn the other cheek and love your neighbor and all this stuff. It's not teaching them to, even sustain their own countries. It's brainwashing, guys, and it's dangerous. For any of my UK watchers, listen, okay? Listen, I encourage you to recall the history of Britain in your countries. I challenge you, and for those of you that are black that have said, oh, but that was so long ago and this and that and the other, then shame on you. Shame on you. Because the ramifications from those actions have gone for centuries. And I always tell you guys, white people don't have mercy on you. You know what I mean? When it comes time for you to pay up to them, they want you to pay everything that's due. They're not forgiving anything. They're not wiping the slate clean. They're not letting you get by with anything. So why should we also have that mentality towards them? No. They need to acknowledge their hand in this thing. You know, but most importantly, we need to change the narrative and stop being subject to it. You know, you black people in Europe disappoint me greatly, because a lot of you guys have migrated directly from the motherland. Okay, you're not particularly a product of the slave trade. You know what I mean? You have actually come from your homeland and moved abroad for various reasons. Okay, and you guys elevate these people, knowing the impact, knowing the ongoing situations in your country. It is unacceptable. You take on their accents, you take on their culture, you take it on and negate your own. And from one of your conscious peers, I gotta tell you, you look like a fool. When I see these big ass African people trying to pretend to be a British, it is sad and disgusting, you know, and unacceptable. And that's just the truth. And that is why, you know, for me, I know that, for instance, my potential mate, he is and must be a direct product of the motherland, because the influence that begins to happen to these people when they migrate abroad is insane. And I personally just cannot tolerate it. You know, for those of you that are single and searching and you're considering maybe migrants in your vicinity, just know that, you know, the probability that that person may want to go home, it's a bit slim, because they consciously chose to migrate to these countries that they are now residing in. And a lot of times they don't even have Africa on their radar. You know, they're so busy trying to assimilate into these Western societies, they're just completely overlooking their responsibility in the motherland. And this is why I really charge the diaspora. The diaspora sits high and mighty on this totem pole because they have an aerial view. Okay, they have been in these various countries for, you know, decades and centuries, and they know how this whole thing works. You know what I mean? And they should see the value in enterprising in Africa right now before other people see it, because they know this whole thing's going to happen full circle. Some African migrant people are extremely stubborn. They don't know their fate. They think that they're superior to other people's situations. They think what's happened to other people is not going to happen to them. So they don't even think about it. But we, the diaspora that have several generations outside of Africa, we understand what is the cost for, you know, integrating with these people. And what is the cost is a great level of sadness, a loss of culture, and a displacement for our people, a lack of identity. You know, so I would advise people that are single and searching and looking for a mate, be careful when you mix up with these immigrants. Be careful. You know, you need to fully evaluate that person, because you may just be connecting with another coon that comes from the motherland. You know, and the same goes for, you know, maybe Pan-African migrants that are in these various, you know, Western countries that are also connecting with people in the diaspora. You need to be mindful of the partner that you choose. You know, if you have a partner that has a very derogatory connotation towards the motherland, and that's where you eventually want to go and take your family, don't proceed in a relationship with that person. Some of you guys are stubborn. I just have to just call it what it is. Some of you guys are very, very, very stubborn. You see it. You see that it's a donkey. You see that it's not going to heed or obey direction. You see they just don't understand logic, but you want to feel like you can tame that animal. You want to feel like, okay, if I just put a little work in. A lot of women are super guilty of this. You see a man that really isn't amounting to much, and you think, okay, I'm going to be able to impact this man. He just needs a stable place to live. He just needs somebody to believe in him. He just needs someone to, cry on his shoulder. Let me just tell y'all something, and then I'm going to close out. If we are at this age, okay, mid-30s, 40s, people are not necessarily victims of circumstance anymore. Okay? People are the products of their choices. Okay? People are the products of their choices. The life that they live is a product of their choices at this age. Because you are very, very narcissistic if you think that now at this point you're the first person presenting them solutions to their problems. You think their own parents didn't try. You think that maybe previous partners didn't try, their children haven't tried, leadership people in their lives, pastors. You think all these people, you're meeting this person in their late 30s, 40s, and you're thinking, well, nobody's just attempted to help this person. Nobody has tried to help this person. No. That person is making the choices that keeps them in that same situation. Because just like many of you and me as well, when you get fed up with certain circumstances, okay, you will find a deep inner strength inside of you that will push you to seek the solution to that problem. You get tired of not having no money. You get tired of getting evicted. You get tired of people talking to you in a condescending way. You get tired of being abused. You get tired of, various things. And it will motivate you. Even people that feel like they have low motivation can muster up the strength to impact their surroundings. So you guys, at this point, please, please, please stop investing in lost causes, whatever that means. If you see that somebody is not going to align with your values. Now, I understand there's flip artists. There are people that pretend to be. And sometimes these people are very, very hard to identify. I would consider my ex-husband a flip artist. Because you guys know I'm an open book. So we had all these conversations before we got married. And he agreed, oh yeah, I'm into that. Oh yeah, I like that. And so on and so forth. We got married and then the story changed. Because I would not willingly walk into a relationship with someone I knew was the complete opposite of what I was looking for in the long term. That's not how proactive people operate. If you can see the danger in front of you, just steer clear of it. Don't go into a bad situation and think that you're going to be, you're going to turn it around. That takes so much investment and energy. And the probability is slim. It happens sometimes, but it's not rare. Most of the time, those people become a vortex and they suck you into their madness. So yes, it's true. Before I came here, I thought black British boys were hot. And I got here and I got an understanding of them. And I mean, they are hot. Aesthetically, they are hot. They're tall. They look great. They dress well. They smell good. They have the accent and so on and so forth. But inside of the mind, we just don't connect. And I don't meet their expectations of what an American is supposed to be like. So it didn't work out. But what I'm brewing on the motherland is definitely exciting. So you guys stay tuned for that. Big shout outs to the African Superstar family. Until we meet again, stay black and true. If you ain't black, just stay true.